Folks, BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, college basketball, to NHL and UFC, BetOnline is the number one sports betting source for the new year. From touchdowns to three-pointers and hat tricks, BetOnline has you covered in every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. Enjoy the show. And when you have stuff queued up, you sometimes have to get to it quicker, but here we go. And folks, here we are. We're back with a standard format episode. A lot of fun doing the happy hour episode last week. It was good to mix things up a little bit. Good to talk to our companions, Ryan Gilbert, Joe DiMarina, and Thomas Williams. A lot of fun there, but I am excited to get back to normal and get into some Flyers talk with you today, Quigs.
New normal.
That's
for some reason when you said get back to normal, my mind immediately went back to all the verbiage and language that people used at the height of COVID, where it's like, this is our new normal, folks. So yeah, I'm excited for the normal. Last week's was a lot of fun though. The happy hour episode was a good time. So yeah, I definitely think we should do some more of those. I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah.
But definitely back to the normal and
back to normal. Yeah, it's normal for a reason, but yeah, happy hour is fun to have a nice change of pace. So definitely should do more of that. Maybe during the little tournament coming up in February, we get something together. That'd be nice.
Yes, that's an excellent idea. Yeah,
that's going to be interesting.
I didn't realize that like the Flyers are off for like 3 weeks for that tournament. It's
wild. I did not know that. The Flyers are off for like 3 weeks, and they have at least 3 players in that tournament. Because Sanheim's playing in it, Konecny's playing in it, Ristolainen's playing in it. Is there another player?
So I know that Sam Ersson was being like scouted, by like Sweden's like camp or whatever. I don't know if he's actually going to go, but if he does, like I
kind of hope he doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, even if he does, I don't think he'll like play.
I know. I just like at this point. I'd be happy if Sam Ersson could play every other game for the Flyers. And I just am so worried about his health that I'm like, please don't play. But I guess we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's coming up in February. So we'll have a little bit of time without Flyers hockey where we can talk about some international stuff. Hoping that it's a good restorative time for certain guys on the team. I'm thinking specifically of Matvei Mishkov. I'm thinking of Sean Couturier and maybe Sam Ersson. Like some guys can really get their stuff together, regroup, and have a strong end of the season.
That would be cool. And maybe at that point, maybe the Flyers will be in position for something. Who's to say? Like, see, if we keep going, we keep flip-flopping back and forth. What the hell is this team? We don't know. Right now, they're fun. Right now, they're fun. Who knows how long it'll last? But right now, it's fun. So
right now, it's fun, and it's funny because like going into this week, it was potentially not fun, and then it's been like another crazy week for the Flyers. Like this really is like the most in between weird team that you can imagine. I'm just looking at the schedule right now and looking over the past week of Flyers hockey. So. Going in the week before, they had 3 losses in a row. 4 losses in a row because they had lost to the Knights, the Leafs, and the Stars. And then they had the Cutter Gauthier game, which was, I think, maybe one of the most amazing cathartic games we've had in a long time in Philadelphia. Yeah. God, that's the thing. Like, I knew we were going to talk about that coming into this, and then so much has happened since then that I guess I kind of forgot to talk, put more notes on the Cutter Gauthier game. But like, I feel like we've all talked about it a lot, and because the news cycle has kind of gotten away from it, I almost forgot. But like, how great did that feel? I mean, 6-0, and the Flyers consistently got in that kid's face. Man, it was awesome.
How about TK, after the whistle going right up to him and saying, like, I promise you, I'll fucking fight you, like, right now. Like, he, like, connect. And then, like, as Cutter Gauthier is just like, no, thank you, sir. And, like, skating away. Konecny's just giving him this shit-faced grin, and it's just like, it was perfect. It was an awesome everything you want to see in something of like a revenge game. Like, that was exactly what you wanted to see. They beat the shit out of Anaheim. Cutter Gauthier held up the scoreboard. He did not have a good game.
No, he did not. And the Flyers were consistently in his face that entire game.
Yeah.
You know what? The other reason I was like, oh, I'm not, I don't know how much I want to talk, because I did post game that night for PHLY after the Ducks game. So I talked about it a lot then. I was like, why have I scratched that itch? Oh, because I talked about it for an hour. I see. Right. But like, no, I want to talk about it with you. I want to talk about your thoughts on it, because like, it was so cool. The fact that they got the shutout too was awesome. Really great team effort there. And just the way that, like, you mentioned Konecny, it's been a bad week for the Travis Konecny haters, by the way, because he's been crushing it this week. And you're a loser if you're a Travis Konecny hater at this point. Like, if you're hating on him, you're just a loser. You should go root for another team. But Travis Konecny is a true Philadelphia Flyer over there. So he's had a tremendous week. Garnett Hathaway is his name, but I like to call him Gary Haths because it's fun. And Garnett doesn't sound like a real first name. But Garnett Hathaway also had a great, like, gritty game when he scorpioned Cutter Gauthier into the scrum. One of my favorite Flyers moments from the past couple of years.
Well, how about Scott Lawton giving him a couple punches right to the face, basically, during that one scrum behind the net? So people were gunning for him, and they should have been. Again, I think we talked about this last week a little bit, but like, Cutter Gauthier just saying all this shit about, like, if only they knew the truth. And this. What truth? What truth are we missing? Like, tell us. Say something, Like,
it's insane.
Yeah, I just don't get. If you got something to say, bitch, say it. Say the words.
Say it. Like, I don't understand what's holding him back from saying it. Like, did he sign an NDA that he can't say anything?
I don't know.
I don't think that's the case. And the Flyers haven't said anything either, except, like, if you listen to the Flyers story, which they told extensively last year, it sounds like he just ghosted them and never really gave them a good explanation. And, like, I can't even fathom what the truth could be if he's saying if they only knew the truth, because, like, we've had some bad shit happen here. Okay. Like, bad things happen in Philadelphia. We're used to bad shit happening. So, like, our imaginations can go pretty vividly as far as, like, bad things that could happen. Like, the Flyers almost killed Eric Lindros. You can't hurt me at this point. Tell me what happened.
Right. Yeah. There's no point to be, like, hiding. Like, again, they're like, the only thing I can think of is that, like, the Ducks told him, like, yo, don't say anything. Like, don't, like, no matter what anyone asks you about the situation, just say nothing. Just sweep it under the rug, say nothing, and just let it fade out. But the problem with that approach is, like, until he says something that's coherent and, like, is actually valid, like, and actually validates his behavior, which I don't know if there are many things that would validate his behavior, but until he says something, then people are just going to continue saying he's a quitter and that he's a loser. And, there's really no positive kind of spin on that. So yeah, the whole thing's crazy, but I will say,
I always think of The Godfather. I think of that moment where he goes, "You can act like a man," and he slaps him. Like, right. That's what I'm thinking about with Gauthier right now. Like, you just got to, like, step up and, like, just say something substantial. Like, he's just said a whole bunch of nothing and then acts like he said everything. It's like, we can't read your mind, dude. Like, we don't know what happened. And the reason the fans were so hard at him, and shout out to Flyers Nation on that day, because, like, my God, did the fans show up. That was the loudest I've heard the Wells Fargo Center in years. The Farg was amazing. Fans did not stop giving him crap. And the thing is, they gave him crap because, in our view, the view of most people, he has not given a reason why. So it just sounds like he's spitting on the city, he's spitting in the face of the franchise. He's basically given us a middle finger without giving us a middle finger. And we don't take that well. Okay. We historically do not take that well. And if he was surprised by this reaction, then he has not been looking.
Let's see, who are some of the top, like, haters of Philadelphia who used to play for a Philadelphia team and then they left and came back and got eviscerated? So
who did you mention?
T.O.
T.O. was a big one.
Who's the Phillies guy?
J.D. Drew. JD Drew is the biggest example and the most comparable one here because JD Drew was drafted by the Phillies. I think he was a number 1 pick and he refused to report to Philadelphia and he forced to trade elsewhere. So JD Drew, I think JD Drew had a battery thrown at him straight up, which they always act like that's a Philadelphia only thing. It's not. Mets fans have done it plenty. Yankees fans have done it. Like other fan bases have done that stuff, but for some reason it's a Philadelphia thing. Who friggin' knows? But like, that's how it is. But like JD Drew straight up had a battery thrown at him. It was messed up, but it was also kind of funny. But yeah, JD Drew's the big one. Scott Rowland did not get great receptions after he came back to Philadelphia after leaving. Scott Rowland was a really weird personality here. McNabb had some mixed results coming back. Number 5 spent a lot of time here, won a lot of games for the Eagles. I don't remember like a vicious booing of him per se.
Yeah.
Though,
I remember it being mostly positive.
Yeah. Even though he played for Washington.
Yeah. And it's not like he was like, fuck Philly, I want to leave. Like he got traded.
Yeah.
So that was a weird, that was a weird thing. Like they brought in Michael Vick and they basically chose Vick over McNabb. And so, I mean,
they made the right call, to be honest, because like McNabb was washed at that point.
He was washed in like, well, I mean, that 2009 season he had wasn't bad.
He was good then, and he probably would have continued.
And he went to Washington, and then in Washington he was horrific. But then again, we got to remember it's Washington. So like, what are you going to do? Especially like that was a Dan Snyder Redskins, so you knew it was going to end horribly.
Yeah, it's a shame that the commies are actually like pretty good under Josh Harris, who no fan of Josh Harris, even though he is making a stadium, the next stadium with the Philadelphia Flyers, which the Sixers, I'm sure everybody's heard about this at this point, but the Sixers drama with the stadium they were going to build, not in Chinatown. I need to mention, it's not in Chinatown. It was going to be near Chinatown. It was going to be like 8th and Market, around there, Market East. It would have affected Chinatown, no doubt, but it wouldn't have been on top of Chinatown. I think there was like a perception that they were going to raise Chinatown to put this in there. Now, it would have affected traffic, which would have affected small businesses. That would have also affected rents in the area and everything. There were a lot of things there, but essentially the Sixers wanted to build a stadium there. And then I really feel like the Sixers got strong-armed here into building a stadium. I don't know what happened, but they're building a new stadium with the Flyers coming sometime in the early 2030s, which I'm going to be 50. I don't even want to think about that. So no thanks. But, yeah, so at some point the Flyers will have a new stadium, even though they just spent years spending millions of dollars renovating the Wells Fargo Center. But what is there to say beyond, oh, cool.
Do we know what? So I knew that they were building a new stadium. Do we know where the new arena is going to be? Is it going to?
It's going to be in the sports complex. Yeah.
Okay, thank God. All right, because honestly, that was one of my things. I was like, dude, there's no reason to break it up. And like, obviously, I didn't want them to go to Chinatown because that would like fuck up the people in Chinatown. But like, I also like, so obviously that was like the number 1 thing. But number 2, like, keep the sports complex together. Like, it's so convenient. Just take the Broad Street line down. Like, you're on the train with everybody. It's fun. Everyone's wearing their gear. It gets you in the mood. It's all exciting and everything. So I'm glad that it seems like the complex is not being broken up.
Yeah, the main benefits that would have happened if they had ended up doing that, like the Sixers would have been forced to revamp SEPTA in the area, which would have been good. Frankly, I think all the teams should pump as much money into SEPTA as they can to encourage people to come down, because it could be great, but like they won't, but they should. Like, that would be a great move on their part. Extend the subway down to the Navy Yard, all that stuff, blah, 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 more trolley lines. Hey, there's a lot of great stuff they could do public transport wise or transit wise, but yeah, it's going to stay in the sports complex. They're supposed to have this big plan to revamp the sports complex.
Like condos and apartments and like
restaurants
retail,
and
mixed use development. Yeah.
Hopefully it works out better than the original Xfinity Live plan, because Xfinity Live was supposed to be like double the size of what it ended up being. And there's supposed to be a hotel and shit. And none of that happened. It's just like this little building that a lot of dude bros love to go to and get hammered and watch sports, which
ride some bulls,
nothing wrong with that,
yeah,
as somebody who loves to get drunk and watch some sports, but like, there is a certain vibe to Xfinity Live that is not welcoming to all of a lot of people, for sure. Every time I try to watch a game down there, I'm like, this is way too much for me. And it's expensive as hell.
It's a lot. It's so expensive. it's so overstimulating. Like I have a good time when I go there, but you can't watch, like, I've never been there to watch a game in Xfinity Live, but I have a feeling it would be very, very hard to pay attention to what's going on.
I watched Flyers games in there, and that's fine because like it's usually pretty chill especially if it's like a weeknight. I watched an Eagles game in there one time.
Oh God, no.
It was like so freaking loud. I was just like deaf by the end of that game. It was, and and it's a lot like, in the 40-Year-Old Virgin when Paul Rudd's in that club and he goes, "Oh, hey, we came on $9 beer night." That's what every night in Xfinity Live feels like. But
it's ridiculous.
The main part, at least. Like, I will give a shout out to the pub where we had the Festivus party. That was a lot of fun, and it was not quite like the experience in the main area. The pub was great. They were very good hosts that night, so shout out to them. And they had a pretty good beer selection too. I couldn't have any, but I was admiring the list. I was on antibiotics that night, which stunk. But antibiotics, by the way, good stuff. Did you know that they can like, if you get a little sad, they can make you really sad?
I did not know that, actually.
Yeah, well, they did that for me. I had one night where I just got like really weepy. It was really bad.
Steve, I can relate.
Hey,
but
so they're going to revamp the sports area, the sports complex, to be continued there. At some point, the Flyers will have a new state-of-the-art stadium. Whoopity-doo! Fix the prices of the concessions. Let's rewind back to the team, though. So Cutter Gauthier kicked his ass. Who was the big star in that game? Travis Konecny was the big star in that game. 4 assists in that game.
Yeah.
What a season TK is having. So kicked ass in that game. And then I'm just looking at his game log right now. Went a couple games without a point. And then in this Islanders game last night, which I'm very excited to talk about, because this is, I think, what's overshadowed the Gauthier game in more recent history.
Right.
He had 3 assists in that Islanders game. So another 3-point night for TK. He's having an amazing season. He's at 53 points in 46 games at this point, 20 goals, 33 assists. And, we've always thought of TK as like a good Flyer, right? Like he gets in people's faces. He's, a tough guy for his size. He's only 5'10", but he plays bigger than his size, and he's pretty durable. Like, and before the past couple of years, there were questions about consistency and everything, but like he always had effort, right? Like, we always appreciated him.
Yeah.
But he has really turned into a leader on this team in a way that I think, I'm not sure everybody expected him to. And I know a lot of people complained about that contract when it was signed, but a lot of people also didn't, like us, because like we realize how important he is to this team. And like to see him get in Gauthier's face like he did, offer to fight him, and like you could tell he knew how important that game was to the fans. They fed off the energy that night. It was incredible. Best Flyers night in years. Right. But then last night against the Islanders, they have the game where it starts off really in, I think, one of the worst ways you can kind of imagine a Flyers Islanders game starting out, which always starts bad. But beginning of the game, guy I've never heard of before last night. What was his name? It was Maxim Tsyplakov. Yes. Tsyplakov comes out and just lays Ryan Poehling out. Poor Ryan Poehling. He headhunts Ryan Poehling, and Ryan Poehling is just out on the ice. Like, he had to get helped off. It sucked. We're probably not going to see him for a few games. And look, Ryan Poehling, he's a 4th-line center, right? Like, he's not like the end-all be-all for this team, but he is still an important player, especially when they have as poor center depth as they have on this team. So, like, you don't want to see any guy go out, but especially at one of your, I think, more shallow positions. And especially that early in the game. So, and that was rough too, because the thing is, the refs didn't call a penalty on that friggin' shot. It was insane.
Crazy. And then, of course, who was it that got Joel Farabee gets the penalty for going after Tsyplakov, not even fighting. They just, what was it, roughing or cross-checking or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Crazy that he got no penalty at all for that. Like,
yeah. And then they score in the power play.
Yeah, at least make it like, some sort of minor penalty or something, like something. He got nothing. which is just wild to me. And dude, the officiating in that game was crazy all night long.
They let that game get away when they could have controlled the situation early on. Frankly, I think they should have tossed Tsyplakov from the game for that hit. Like, I know a lot of people claim like it's got a textbook. Like, I know a headshot when I see one. Some people are like, oh, it was clean by the, assholes say that, right? Yeah. The same people that claim that Scott Stevens hit on like Eric Lindros was like a legal hit. Yeah. Like, this is it's a little different, but like, here's the thing. You can tell the intent. And the intent was he wanted to take Ryan Poehling out on that hit. Right. That was a headshot. And he got 3 games. He got suspended 3 games as he should have been, and it was insane that there was no call, and the refs let this game get away from them, and the game got crazy. And just what a game from the Flyers, though. They go down 1-0 early. And then in the second period, where they have had a lot of trouble this year, they've been a terrible second period team, dominated the second period. 3 goals for the Flyers, none for the Islanders. And that ended up being the difference maker because they tied it up in the second period, or the third period rather. They both scored 2. So the Flyers needed to dominate that third that second, and they did. And just what Konecny brought, he was just dishing out amazing passes all night.
And he did that after almost dying himself. Like, he took that scary, scary hit going into the end boards real hard. And he was down on the ice. I thought he was,
I felt bad about that. I didn't like that at all.
I didn't know if he was concussed. And for a second, I was wondering, was that dirty? I can't remember
when I first saw it happen, that was my first instinct was like, holy shit, these guys are just getting away with murder right now.
Right.
And then
watching it again, I didn't think it was quite dirty, but like, I don't know. It was an interesting play for sure, but I'm not going to lose my mind over that one. But TK goes hard into the boards. I thought he was concussed. I thought he had a broken something, like he looked, just the speed that he hit those boards was crazy. And so he's down on the ice for a bit. He goes to the locker room and then he comes back. And then second period comes. He doesn't come out for the start of the period, like with the team, but like right as they're about to drop the puck for the second period, here comes Konecny. He's just like, ugh. You can tell he was feeling like shit. And then he goes ahead and has an absurd second period where it was one of his better performances of the year.
The pass to Garnet Hathaway was
beautiful. And
absolutely outstanding.
Dude, that whole play, shorthanded goal, that whole shift of his, like he made a nice defensive play to break up like an entry or rush. He gets control of the puck, hustles up the ice, flies down the ice, finds Garnet Hathaway with just a gorgeous feed across ice, and boom, we got I think that was the first. Yeah, it was a tie game at that point. So,
yeah, because Couturier tied it up, which you love to see because Joel Farabee spent 2 games on the bench, right? Riding the pine.
Right. Yeah.
So Joel Farabee was scratched for 2 games. John Tortorella didn't like what he was seeing. And I got to agree with Torts on that one. I mean, Farabee was fighting guys, which is like, you're a skilled player. You don't need to be fighting guys on the 4th line. So he took a couple nights off, paired up with Couturier and Mishkov. And guess what? They got the first goal of the night. Love to see that. Great feed from Farabee there. But tie game, the Flyers go down shorthanded. You're worried. This is it, right? Because the Islanders are a team that give the Flyers trouble all the time.
Right.
But, man, TK, Hathaway, power kill, cross-ice pass. Damn, that was awesome.
TK was great. I mean, he really, like, him coming back, and it just felt like he kind of set the tone for the night. And granted, like, and you were right, it was the Couturier goal that tied it, but Konecny kind of took it to the next level. He was kind of like, no, like we're going to win this game. And honestly, like, listen, in terms of leadership and all that, and I'm kind of like hesitant to say this because it's going to open a whole can of worms and everything. And I don't mean to start some sort of weird debate, but like that was captain behavior last night by TK.
It was.
Behavior.
I couldn't agree more. It was total captain behavior. And he is like, we always talked about like Scott Lawton being like the unofficial captain of this team when Sean Couturier got it, but like Travis Konecny's wearing the A for a
He's
reason.
up there.
And he doesn't give a shit if he's the actual captain or not, because he's out there leading this team anyway. He's leading by example. He's creating chances for this team. Like, one of the things that's really impressed me that I've seen in his dominant games lately is that he's keeping the play going in the offensive zone,
Right.
where he's making stuff happen, and he really is becoming a playmaker in a way that I don't know if we anticipate. Like, we used to talk about, like, okay, if you put Travis Konecny on like the Maple Leafs, is he Mitch Marner at that point? You know,
Right. Yeah.
Does he like do a million great things? Because he does. And like Austin Matthews even called him out as like one of the more underrated players in the league. And you like to see him being over a point per game pace right now, to have these nights where he is forcing the Flyers like to be a better offensive team. Right. He's elevating guys around him, and he is truly like, I think he's becoming now a better player than I think we anticipated that he would be.
Yeah. And listen, like, you mentioned earlier, if you don't like the Konecny contract, like, or if you don't like Konecny, then you're crazy. And I agree with that, because like, how can you not love the guy? He's a perfect Flyer. I will say, and I don't mean to be like the whole devil's advocate here thing. But I will say that, like, I stand by my stance as like, I still would not have given him the contract, given where the Flyers are. I still would not have given him that contract. But right now, how can you complain? Like, how can you complain right now? He is playing like everything you would hope that he would like right now. He is absolutely proving to not just, the Fly, everyone. He's proving to everybody that he was worth every single cent of that contract. And if he continues playing this way, literally, how can you complain? Like, even me, who was anti giving him the contract, not that I didn't want him on the Flyers, but like, that contract, the price tag, this, that, and the other, like, even me, I'm looking at this and I'm like, this is incredible. This is like, how, like, it's just amazing. And he's just taken his game to another level, and you just have to be over the moon about it.
You have to be. It's fantastic. And what I really like about this is, you have a young guy, you have Matvei Mishkov in there, right? And it's hard to bring a young guy in and have him just be on a pathetic loser franchise for the first couple of years of his career.
Yeah.
It's hard for him to come over. Like, if you're Mishkov, like, you have to think part of the appeal of coming over to the Flyers now is you get to play with some talented guys like Travis Konecny. The Flyers could use more talent for sure. I think we all admit that.
Yep.
But like, to be able to play with a guy like that and learn from a guy like that, and also, kind of show you what Flyers hockey is all about, I think that's really important for Mishkov and his development. This is a big year. I mean, he's not lighting it up like he did in the first couple of weeks of the year, but he's also 20 years old. He's a rookie getting used to NHL play. That's going to happen. But to see TK light it up like he has, I think that's incredible for Mishkov. And I think that's going to be really beneficial to him in the years to come.
Yeah. And, also to that point, like, and we've kind of seen it a lot from Mishkov throughout the season, like how he's a little shit stir. He's pissing everybody off. I don't think that's, first of all, I just think that that's him. I think that he's always just kind of been that way. We saw it a little bit we heard about it a little bit from just, Russia and everything, how he is, he doesn't really back down from anybody. Travis Konecny is only like taking that to a next level. Like, with Travis Konecny being on the team and really being the leader or one of the primary leaders of the team now, which is just crazy given how like, it feels like he was just a kid 2 seconds ago.
It really does.
Yeah. And it's still funny. Like, it still feels like he's a kid because he's only 27. So like,
yeah, I have his stats up right here. He's 27. He's going to be 28 in March. I didn't realize he's a little mid-March birthday like me. There we go.
There you go.
He's March 11th.
Yeah. But I just think having Konecny around for Mishkov to kind of base his not base his game after, but just to kind of look at him and be like, I want to be what he is for this team. I think that's valuable.
I think that's extremely valuable.
Yeah. I think in a few years, like when Mishkov hits his stride and he's, in the prime of his career, I want him to have an approach similar to Travis Konecny. And I want him to kind of view the Flyers in the light that Travis Konecny views the Flyers. Like, we even heard what he said on the I think it was with
Ashland.
NBC, yeah, like the intermission interview.
NBC Sports Philly with Ashland, yeah.
Yeah, with Ashland. And he was just like, listen, like, we love being a Flyer, or like, I love being a Flyer, this and that. And, you know, Cutter Gauthier, he didn't want it. That's his loss. Like, he clearly just adores being a Flyer so much. And, like, I want Mishkov to feel that way. I want everyone in the room to feel that way, but particularly Mishkov, who's the face of the franchise.
And that's why it's great they don't have Cutter at this point, because if Cutter does feel that way, then I don't want him here for sure. Yeah. And Mishkov is a guy that we've heard reports that Philly was his first choice in the first place. Like, he's wanted to be here. So that's another guy that wants to be here. Jet Luchenko feels like another guy who wants to be here. And you can have problems all day with the Flyers drafting certain guys by character. You know, Zeev Buium, not drafting Zeev Buium and getting Jet Luchenko instead is definitely going to be a debate for years to come with this franchise. And it should be, you know, it should be. It is a controversial choice. But ultimately, if the Flyers didn't feel that he's a fit for what they're establishing, I totally get it. Because when you see these guys start to gel like this, you can see a path forward for this team. And frankly, if this team had been getting competent goaltending for most of the past few weeks, we might be talking a different story as far as the playoff standings go. You know, Columbus has gotten better than expected. I'm actually still shocked by how Columbus is, and we have more to say about them later. But you know, Columbus right now is in that wild card spot, which is shocking to me because, like, their star players are guys with names like Kent Johnson, which is
don't sleep on Kent Johnson. He's
I know. I sleep on him. I hear he's great, but like, his name's Kent Johnson.
Yeah, Kent.
Who
the hell are you? Superman?
What is that? Yeah, exactly. Come on, get out of here.
Stupid.
He ain't Superman.
No, you're stupid.
No,
you're stupid.
But, you know, we're not talking about the Flyers like being a playoff team right now. Like, they're literally at 500. Like, they're 20-20-6. Like, they are as mediocre as it gets. They're probably not going to make the playoffs. I'm not holding out hope for that. But like, you think, like, sometimes it feels like kind of hopeless with this team when you're watching them. But like, if you look at like Konecny, you look at Mishkov, you look at Tippett, and you look at my guy Noah Cates, who is Noah Cates and Tyson Forrester, who Tyson Forrester obviously is a couple years younger than Noah Cates. But like, to see the chemistry those two are putting together right now and what they're doing together. I have some awesome stats on Noah Cates that I assembled over the past few days. I actually busted out the spreadsheets for this one. So there you go.
Oh, wow.
But Noah Cates right now. So we talk about the lack of center depth on this team and how that's a problem. Sean Couturier has had a ton of issues. It sucks. He is a third line center at this point for this team because he just can't keep up with the pace of play. Morgan Frost is a black hole of defense. He's just not. We've talked too much about Morgan Frost. I don't want to talk about him today.
I'm just
Noah Cates is not an ideal first line center, right? But
because he's not.
But I'll tell you what, he has been playing awesome over the past like month or so, and he's as close to a first line center, or at least like a kind of do it all center, as this team has right now. And he's just playing so well with Forrester and Brink. So Noah Cates scratched for the first couple games of the season when they were trying out Jet Luchenko, which sucked, right? Because we all liked Cates. We're a little on the fence about him and everything. Like, at his best, he's been Coots Jr. At his worst, he's been the invisible man. He's never been an outright disaster, but like, he wasn't inspiring to start the season, and you didn't like to see him scratched. So his first 12 games that he played, 1 point in those first 12 games. Okay. The last 29 games, 18 points, and specifically the last 18 games, 15 points. I might have to recalculate the 29 games, but like 15 points in the last 18 games is awesome. Like, he's really turned it on. He played 19-26 against the Islanders. So he is Tort's guy right now. Like, he trusts him implicitly. And
why not?
Why not? Well, and Tyson Forrester, 3 points in the first 16 games. We were super disappointed in Tyson Forrester. He even got scratched at one point. Tyson Forrester is now at 20 points in 45 games, 12 goals, 8 assists. Double-digit goals is huge for this team because they don't have a lot of goal scorers. So the chemistry these two guys have, and Bobby Brink's done some good stuff too. And thankfully, putting Bobby Brink with those guys helps Bobby Brink, because Bobby Brink's a shit defensive player. So those two guys are outstanding defensive players. So to get those two guys like shutting everything down, Brink can focus on his game. That's a great line right there.
I really, really like that line for really the reason that you just kind of alluded to. Like, I do think it opens things up for Bobby Brink. I'll say this about Brink. Every time I watch a Flyers game, he stands out in some way, shape, or form, and in a good way, I think. Sometimes I'll see him make a little play with the puck, or like he's stronger than you would think he is for his size.
He's definitely stronger than you think for his size. And what I like about Bobby Brink is his creativity, his offensive playmaking. Like,
yeah,
they don't have a lot of creative guys either. Like, it's Michkov. I would say TK's got some creativity on his better nights. Owen Tippett does not enough consistently. Come on, Owen. But Brink almost every night tries to do at least one weird creative play in the offensive zone. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, I do too. And like, I feel like he's gained confidence, I think, being consistently in the lineup. And I think it's good that he's developed this chemistry with Forster and Cates. And I think, like, that's my thing. I think it is so, so, so important for lines to stay together. You know, like, obviously you want everyone to have chemistry with everyone, but like, I feel like it's good to have, you know, a line that's they stick together. And if they're having a hard stretch, you know, maybe you break it up a little bit, but get it back to what it was, you know? And I know that that's something that people were being driven crazy by from Torts earlier on in the season, was how he just kept jumbling up the lines. No one was developing chemistry. Finally, there's some chemistry, and there's a line that's like a defined line for the Flyers right now. And it's just been working. It's been working so well. We're seeing Noah Cates play the best hockey that we've ever seen from him. We're seeing Tyson Forster. He's finally awoken. Is he to the level that some people thought he was going to be? No, he's not. He still has a little bit of work to do, especially offensively, but like, defensively, he's still been very good. And that's excellent, because earlier on in the season, he was horrific completely in all facets of the game. So it's good to see that he's getting back to, you know, back in his groove. And then Bobby Brink, we're seeing him kind of taking that next step in terms of creativity. He just looks like more of an NHL player this year than he did last year. And I think that's really, it's awesome. And I just, this line, it's my favorite line for sure on the Flyers right now. It's their really their only line because it's the only one that's stuck together for this long, but it's just really exciting. And it's kind of like their kids line. And it's really, really encouraging. And I hope it stays together for the long haul.
You have been seeing more consistency, though, with those lines. Like, I feel like we've been seeing a lot of like Tippett and Konecny playing together.
Yeah.
We've been seeing a lot of like Frost has almost consistently been like the 2C, occasionally the 1C, but he's usually been playing with either Tippett or Konecny. Sometimes Michkov is thrown in there. I liked what I saw from Flyperbole, Couturier, and Michkov the other night. That was fun. Fourth line is almost consistently Hathaway, Poehling, and Lotz at this point, which I like that a lot too. Like, for a fourth line, that's
a great fourth line.
Yeah. You got some jam. You got Hathaway, who, like, I complained about Hathaway after like the first month not doing enough of like his kind of like nasty guy stuff, because if you're not going to play Delorier, the only guy you really have who can kind of like muscle guys around is Hathaway.
Right.
And he wasn't really doing that the first few weeks, but like, he's been doing that. Him bullying Cutter Gauthier was friggin' awesome. And he was key in that Islanders game last night. Like, because the Islanders wanted to play rough in that game, and Hathaway rung the bell. Like, or, you know, Hathaway brought it to him.
He went, I was going to say, he went right after Tsyplakov. And then I think it was poetic that, you know, not only did he go after Tsyplakov, but like, then he scored that shorthanded goal. And, you know, it's just, he really is one of those heart and soul guys. And, you know, I remember there was a huge debate about the contract extension the Flyers gave him this offseason. I was very happy with that contract extension because I think he's such a good Flyer. I think he plays the kind of game that is perfect for your fourth line. And I think he's a truly valuable asset for the Flyers. Like, is he going to put up a ton of points? No, that's not his job. His job is to be a shit stirrer, a checking line winger, a physical presence, and a leader. And he's all of those things. You know, he's good on the penalty kill. Like, I'm a huge fan of Garnet Hathaway. And I knew he was going to be I knew he was going to end up being a fan favorite as soon as the Flyers got him. What was that? Not this past summer, but the one before.
I think so. Yeah.
I knew that he was going to be a good fit because, I mean, just looking at his past history with the Flames and with the Capitals and that short stint in Boston, like he played a Flyers brand of hockey. And I think, I don't know. I just think he's exactly what you want out of a fourth liner in the year 2025.
For sure. And again, Poehling brings a lot as a fourth liner. When he's in there, he's speedy, he's defensively responsible. And then Scott Laughton, this is where Scott Laughton belongs. And he's been productive down there. Like he's a top, I think he's still in the top 5 for points in the Flyers, which he kind of plays in the third and fourth line. He's in 6th now, which frankly, that's better. I didn't like that he was in the top 5. That meant other guys weren't scoring. Morgan Frost actually has arrived in the top 5. So there you go. Oh, wow. But Scott Laughton, 23 points, doing like fourth line minutes. You love that. He cross-checked. He got $5K, a $5K fine for that cross-check on Tsyplakov the other night.
What are we doing? Like
ridiculous.
I don't understand. Like I don't understand what the NHL was doing with what the officials were doing, what the NHLPA now is doing, or not NHLPA, but like what the Department of Player Safety, like it's crazy. So everyone's out of control.
But I think Laughton will say 5K well worth it for that, because like he wanted to send a message that night, and they definitely fought back and sent a message to the Islanders. You mess with our guy, we're going to take it to you.
Right.
Like the Islanders messed up with that hit because they woke the bear, and the Flyers responded in kind. It was an inspirational effort. I hope we see more of that, and they keep playing hard heading into the break for the Four Nations game. But like what I'm seeing so far from the Fly guys, at least over the past week.
I do wonder what is going to happen in the next game between the Flyers and Islanders, because I can't remember if it was Bush or if it was JJ who during the broadcast said, they face him like 2-3 more times the next few weeks here. Like, don't be surprised if there's some sort of like, retribution.
Next week, the 24th.
Yeah. So who knows? Like could we see Garnet Hathaway drop the gloves? Could we see Joel Farabee drop the gloves with Tsyplakov? Could we see
Nick Delorier returns from the IR?
Nick Delorier just down a hyper potion from Pokemon and just be ready to go. And then
I have a feeling he'd be ready to go if they just asked him. But they probably can't, because they've been juggling 3 damn goalies on the roster for like 2 months now.
I'm so sick of the 3 goalies.
I'm sick of the 3 goalies too. It's terrible. But Sam Ersson needs to be healthy. But yeah, they play the Islanders on the 24th and on the 30th. So they've got a couple games against one of our least favorite teams. We don't enjoy the Islanders even when there's not violence involved, because they're just one of the most boring teams in the sport.
The Islanders are miserable to watch. It's honestly like they may now be my least favorite team in the Metro. Believe it or not, Steve.
That's wild to think about.
Despite my dislike for Ohio, and at this point it's just like it's just for fun at this point. It's like kind of my brand that I don't like Ohio, but like
okay, well, that's actually a great transition here, because when we logged on tonight, you were admiring, I'm rocking the Jeremiah Trotter, the Axeman jersey tonight, which I have had this for like 20 years at this point. This is an old ass jersey. It's held up pretty damn good, though, I have to say.
Yeah, honestly,
I got some wear and tear at the bottom here, but like otherwise, like 20 years, it's holding up great. And one of our big worries coming into the season, or the past couple of years, is that Fanatics was taking over the NHL contract. Overall, hasn't been the disaster we thought. We thought like these things were going to be coming apart at the seams, but they just unveiled. So number one, were you aware there's a stadium series happening this year? I
just assumed that there's going to be a stadium series. I had no idea when it was, and it turns out is it next week?
I think it's something like that. Yeah.
This week? I have no idea when it is.
Let's look it up. We're going to find out. The Stadium Series 2025. When the hell is it? Do you know who's in it?
I mean, well, now I do. After
it's March 1st.
Oh, okay. So it's okay. Oh, wow. So it's a while away.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Saturday, March 1st on the Ohio State campus, Detroit versus Columbus. So Columbus, your favorite place, finally gets their time in the sun right here. And so get a load of these jerseys, which you might at first think these look all right, but then when you take a closer look, I'm very excited for your reaction here. So this is a Bleacher Report open ice, and at first you're like, oh, okay, well, the cannon, they went with the cannon.
They do have a
The
cannon.
Ohio shaped A is nice, but then look how cheap these look. These are like the cheapest looking jerseys I have ever seen. Like,
I don't
you
know
can see the white behind the spokes. Like,
see,
dude, this looks like iron-on bullshit to me.
the white behind the spokes.
Yeah, on the cannon, like
I think it's just the reflection of the lighting hitting the material different.
I don't think so. It's not like basically it's not like I don't know. The whole thing, it looks like iron-on to me. And I'm sorry, Detroit just written out. Come on.
Yeah, but see, I'm not going to chalk that up as like a, like the quality of the uniform itself being bad. I think it's just a bad design.
Oh no, the quality of the uniform looks cheap as shit to me. I'm sorry. They used to stitch shit on. This looks like ironed on to me.
Well, so that I agree with. If it's ironed on, then
I don't know that it's ironed on, but it looks like it to me. Like, I don't know. When I look at my old jerseys, right? Like my old Flyers jerseys, like, man, they're stitching. It's beautiful.
So nice.
And then I look at this stuff and it's just like, man, it looks like it took them like 10 minutes with a 3D printer to make.
I miss the old Reebok jerseys. They were so
CCM, my guy. CCM
too. Both.
CCM made gorgeous jerseys. Even Nike used to make great jerseys back in the 90s. Nike made awesome jerseys. Bauer made great jerseys. Like,
I would expect CCM and Bauer to make good jerseys because
Starter
hockey's their thing. But I did like the Reebok. I really, really liked the Reebok. And then when it went to Adidas, I don't know. It was just kind of weird. It fit weird. I wasn't a huge fan of it. And, Fanatics, I haven't really dealt with. I haven't seen a Fanatics one. Like, I haven't really held a Fanatics jersey in my hand.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But
I don't know. I just felt like the Columbus one's okay. Again, I think the logo looks cheap. I think it could have been better. I do like the Ohio shaped A. Like, I think every team should have a unique, captain's patch at this point. Like, the Flyers need to just put the keystone on every one of their jerseys because it's gorgeous. But the Detroit one looks so lazy to me. It just looks like it took them 5 minutes. Like, oh, they forgot to make a jersey. Let's just slap this together.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't like it. Think it could have been better. It's C+ at best, but that's just how I'm feeling about it. I thought you were going to trash Ohio more here, but here we are.
It's not great. It's certainly not great. It just you're right. It looks like they were just like, we need to throw something on the crest. And they
shit, there's a game coming up?
Cannon. And so they just cannon out there. But, I will say, we were talking about this a little before. I think Columbus's third jersey is actually gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Like the circular logo with the cannon inside it. I think that looks cool.
That one's cool. Every time I play against Columbus in like an NHL video game, I make them wear that every time.
Every time. Why not? It's a great uniform. It's so nice.
I think I actually had to play them in an NHL franchise mode this week, and I had them wear that, and I had the Flyers wear the white 90s one.
Oh, I love the white 90s one.
Good matchup. Good matchup right there. The piping. Bring the piping back. Their current white jerseys ain't bad, but if they got a little bit of black piping, we'd be talking a lot better right there. But and by the way, the Phantoms, I don't have a picture of that available right now, but the Phantoms teased these, like, I don't know if they were like a dark gray jersey or something, but they looked pretty cool from what I saw.
Phantoms, I did see that as well.
Phantoms, send one to your guys right here. We love the Phantoms.
We will do a review of the jerseys.
Oh, we would do a live
on the air if you send us jerseys at Phantoms. So
there you go.
Go ahead and do that. You should just send them to us.
Just send them to us down in the city of brotherly love right here. We're both there.
Patty Campbell, talk to some of your people. We need you to talk to some people at the Phantoms. Give us some jerseys. We'll review them and we'll say nice things. We promise.
And we'll talk lots of Phantoms. Okay. We'll even say nice things about Lappy. We'll make it happen.
Oh yeah. Listen,
the guy blocked a shot with his face. Come on.
Beautiful teeth.
Beautiful teeth.
You see how shiny his head is? It looks like gold.
That's great. We love it. We love Lappy. Let me tell you, we love Lappy. Yeah. And on that note, I come to the final topic of the night. Speaking of Flyers alumni right there. And we got to talk about the quarter century team, which is something that they're doing this for every team, right? They're doing a quarter century team. Like, essentially, the best team that you could assemble of the past 25 years for certain NHL franchises. I know the Penguins did one, and it was like goddamn all-star roster, and I hate them so much. The Flyers had theirs revealed this week, and I mostly agree with it. Mostly very good choices here. There are definitely some controversies to be had, though. And by the way, check out over on BroadStreetHockey.com. Ryan Gilbert wrote a great little piece about this, so go check that out. I agree with a lot of what Gilb said on there. But let's get into this. So I'm going to read the rosters. There's two teams, first team and second team. I'll read these, and then we can give our reactions afterwards for controversial ones. So forwards on the first team: Simone Gagne, Claude Giroux, Mike Richards. Defenseman, Eric Desjardins, Kimmo Timonen. Goaltender, Roman Cechmanek. Second team, forwards, Danny Briere, Sean Couturier, Jake Voracek. Defenseman, Chris Pronger. Can't believe I messed up one of the greatest defensemen in hockey history's names, but I did. Ivan Provorov. Goaltender, Brian Boucher. Ryan Quigley, what is your first thought on this?
What the hell are these goalies?
What the hell are these goalies?
What are these goalies? Now, granted,
I love Bush. Okay. I was a big Bush fan. I got into a fight in an AOL chat room in the year 2000 defending Brian Boucher's talent. Okay. I thought he was going to be the shit. And he did some fine things in his Flyers career. That game against the Rangers to get into the 2010 playoffs, iconic. Okay. And he had some great games in that 2010 playoffs. Ultimately, I would not say Brian Boucher is one of the two best goaltenders of the past 25 years for this franchise.
He's not. And listen, like Roman Cechmanek, I know, like, I think he deserves a spot.
Roman Cechmanek has the numbers. He has some of the best numbers in Flyers history, but everybody kind of hated him.
Right. Yeah. But like, you know, I think this just goes to show just how bad goaltending has been for the Flyers for so long. Literally since before the year 2000, it seems like, you know, or since then, it's been a revolving door of just guy after guy after guy. And listen, Roman Cechmanek was good, but like, it's not like he was this, you know, otherworldly player, you know. Brian Boucher, I mean, he was far from that. Listen, Steve Mason is so criminally slept on by this goddamn fan base. And I know the fan base didn't make this roster, but like, why is he not on this roster, on this quarter century team?
It's insane.
It doesn't make sense to me. Listen, I know that he had his problems. I know that he was not a perfect goalie. I would think he's been arguably the most consistently dependable goalie the Flyers have had since the year 2000. I think Steve Mason is him. You could argue Carter Hart, but we don't talk about him. So Steve Mason would be that.
Frankly, if Hart wasn't a disgrace and a criminal, alleged criminal, if Hart wasn't those things, he would make this. It should be Mason, and you could say Hart. I obviously wouldn't say Hart, but Mason, I think, undoubtedly deserves to make it. Now, I got a lot of problems with Steve Mason. I think he's let up some of the worst goals I've ever seen. Yep. He definitely had a ton of fatal flaws, but here's the thing. Well, and I got some stats for you, bud. I got some stats for you. Yeah. You know who's number 3 in wins all time for Flyers goaltenders? Steve Mason.
That's right.
The names go Ron Hextall, Bernie Parent, Steve Mason.
Crazy.
And then we don't talk about the next guy down there. But Steve Mason's number 3. Okay.
He's so criminally underrated by this fan base.
I got some more for you. Okay. I got some more. He's got the second best save percentage for this franchise with 100+ games played. 918 save percentage. Okay. That's killer. And we would kill for a 918 save percentage right now. Yep. Fourth best GAA goals against average for 100+ games played, 2.47. Okay. This is just looking at Hockey Reference for a few minutes. That's what I came up with. Yeah. The thing is, like, the wins alone, like, it's insane that he wouldn't make the best quarter century team for this. Yeah. Team. You could throw Bobrovsky up there for shits and giggles. You could throw Brizgalov in there. I'd probably throw someone like Marty Biron or Robert Esch or somebody in there. You know, you got some names. You could, as I said, Bobrovsky. You've got other guys you could throw in there, and you could even do Bush. But like, to do Cechmanek and Bush is a little crazy. Like, honestly, you might even consider Michael Leighton before, you know. But like, I like Brian Boucher. I love him as a broadcaster and a personality for the Flyers. I think he's outstanding there. But like, he only had a couple really good years here.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, like, he's not one of the top Flyers goaltenders the past 25 years. It's just not how it is. I'm sorry. It just isn't. So, yeah, that's the first big thing. I don't agree with the goalies. I wouldn't probably have either of them in there. Again, Czech Montague at least have a statistical
Right. Yeah.
Basis for that. Okay. The forwards of the first team, no problems. Simon Gagne, franchise icon for the first. Simon Gagne is one of the few guys who represents the first half of the past 25 years. That's one of the problems I have is like it's a lot of recency bias with this. Okay. Simon Gagne should not be the only guy representing the first half of this, but because guess what? Those teams were constant cup contenders. Okay. Yeah. Those were teams that were in the mix and you only have Gagne. I would have considered Keith Primo on here. Okay. Keith Primo, one of the best leaders for this team in the past 25 years, easily, if not ever. Okay. Keith Primo was an unbelievable captain for this team for the period he had, but I would have considered him. I'm not crying over it, but I would have considered him. Claude Giroux, obviously icon, one of the great Flyers, no contest there. Mike Richards, one of the great leaders for this team. We love Mike Richards here. Eric Desjardins, one of the great defensemen for this team. No problems there. Kimmo Timonen, same thing. Those rock solid. Okay. No problems in the first team there. Second team, Danny Briere, franchise altering free agent. I get it. One of the best playoff performers this franchise has ever had. 2010 playoffs. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Danny Briere. I'll give you Danny Briere all day. Sean Couturier. I love Sean Couturier. Okay. I call him Mr. Chess, not Checkers. Or if you're the AI that transcribes this show on StreamYard, it's Mr. Chestnut Checkers, which sounds like a horse. But but I love Sean Couturier. I don't think I would have put Sean Couturier on the second team.
My only thing is, if you don't put him there, what center are you putting there?
Danny Briere.
Well,
Danny Briere was the center, my guy.
He was, yeah.
He's centered. I would put Danny Briere. I would have put either Wayne Simmons or Keith Primo there.
Wayne Simmons needs to be on one of these teams.
There are two reasons for Wayne Simmons. Well, three reasons. Wayne Simmons, number one, is the dude was a fucking Flyer. Okay. Like,
perfect.
We were talking about Travis Konecny being a fucking Flyer. Wayne Simmons, I would say there's like a few guys that like are iconic, like as far as just like being genetically engineered to be Flyers. Like Rick Tockett's one of them. Right. Rick Tocchet, Wayne Simmons, Travis Konecny. Like, these are guys who like will fight anybody. Especially Wayne Simmons. I always think about PK Subban when he said, "You do not want to fight Wayne Simmons." Okay. Yeah. The dude scored goals and he fought guys. Okay. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, this is a sport that historically does not have a lot of black representation or people of color representation at all. Okay. And Wayne Simmons is easily the most iconic black player in franchise history. Mm-hmm. Okay. It is a big deal for this franchise. He is one of the only non-white people who has ever had a huge impact for this team. And I think it's criminal to not have him represented here because of that. Like, not only did he score a shit ton of goals for this franchise, not only did he fight a ton of guys, lay out some of the best hits. Okay. Wayne Simmons is, I think, just an iconic player for this franchise. I'm so happy he's back working with the franchise. Yeah. I'm happy he's working with Snyder Hockey, which works with many children of color and helps them get into a sport that is inaccessible to them otherwise, because hockey's freaking expensive. So Snyder Hockey, unbelievable job. Keep doing what you're doing. We will support you forever. We love you. Wayne Simmons deserves to be on this team because of all that.
Yes, I 1,000,000% agree. I hate that he's not on the team. I was thinking, like, let's pretend you do love Sean Couturier and you want him on the team. I was even wondering, do you take Voracek off for Simmons? That would be harder to argue because, Voracek was awesome.
Voracek has more franchise. I think Voracek has more franchise numbers that you could justify him on there than Couturier per se. I really like Sean Couturier. Sean Couturier is definitely one of my favorite Flyers of the past 25 years. Wayne Simmons is an iconic Flyer.
He is like one of the Flyers. Like, you have to have him on there. You can't talk about the Flyers over the last 25 years and not talk about Wayne Simmons. Like
when you walked into the Wells Fargo Center, like for, I'm not including the last like 5 years, right? But pre-pandemic, when you walked in the Wells Fargo Center, what jerseys did you see most often? You saw Claude Giroux, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Right behind that was Wayne Simmons.
Ton of Simmons.
Ton of Simmons.
everywhere.
Iconic player for this franchise. I think it's criminal that they didn't. I can't believe they didn't put him on here. To be honest, it's a little insane to me, and I don't know what they were thinking. And I think they should feel bad about it.
I think they should too.
And there's one other one they should feel bad about, and we're about to get into that one.
I was about to say, go ahead.
So Chris Pronger is a no-brainer. Okay, Chris Pronger dragged that team to the 2010 Cup final. Chris Pronger friggin' rules. I hope he keeps that puck. I hope he actually threw it in the trash, okay? Chris Pronger is awesome. He drove Tim Panaccio nuts. The best. All right. What's Ivan Provorov doing here? Are we serious with this? All
right. So I have a couple thoughts here. One is a more like actual, like, this is who I think should have gotten it. And the other one is more like, just kind of throwing it out there. And I'll start with that one. Do you think Braden Coburn deserved that more than Ivan Provorov?
1,000,000%. Braden Coburn played 576 games for the Flyers over that stretch, okay? Provorov played 532. Don't get me wrong. Provorov played a lot of games, a lot of hard minutes for this. Braden Coburn was a huge player here and a very underappreciated player here for a very long time.
Toward the end, he wasn't playing well toward the end.
Who also wasn't playing well towards the end? Ivan Provorov.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like Braden Coburn played many more meaningful games than Ivan Provorov.
He was Kimmo Timonen's partner for a long time, and he was one of the pivotal guys on that cup run.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I feel like he was more of a leader than Ivan Provorov, because Ivan Provorov certainly was not a leader. That's
especially at the end.
Yeah, especially at the end.
So. And I'm not even talking like, we have talked the Pride Night debacle to death, okay? And you all know how we feel on that, okay? We are strongly with pro Pride Night, suck it up with fucking jersey. But even beyond that, he was a sourpuss, all right? He was just miserable in that locker room. He was making people miserable around him. I always think back to when he was at the press day at the end, the locker cleanout day.
Oh,
and
crazy.
He was just like the shittiest person to ever.
Yeah, he just goes off on Jordan Hall for like no reason.
Jordan Hall.
What has Jordan Hall
ever done? Does anybody deserve that? Like, it's insane.
Like, I just don't get it. And so,
like, he was treating Jordan Hall like he was Tim Panaccio.
I know. I'm like, what are you talking about?
I am a big fan of Timmy P. Okay. He loves Dr. Pepper. He was the mystery muncher back in '89. Some of the best tweets of all time. But like, Timmy P was a bit of a shit stirrer with that team. All right. Like,
yeah, he was.
Timmy P would stir some shit, and all those guys, Slam and Sammy Carchidi, like a lot of the beat writers would kind of poke the bear back
on the Flyers beat back then. Crazy, off the charts.
I mean, it was a different era of writers, and like the current writing crew, like, you don't get drama from them because it's professionals like Jordan Hall and Charlie O'Connor who are going in there, and they're just, they're just being pros. They're keeping things friendly, which if you had gotten the mix of guys in there from like 2010, 2012 with John Tortorella, I think there'd be a body by now.
Oh my God. I can't even imagine. I cannot even imagine.
Torts could have murdered somebody.
Every single post game, win or lose, it would have been so funny. I wish I saw it. I really, really do, because heads would have rolled every night. It would have been so great.
Yeah. I think Coburn would be my number one guy that I would head over Provorov. I could think of a couple other guys. I would even throw Mark Streit over Provorov, to be honest with you. And I don't like Mark Streit. Like, RIPD is dick. But,
yeah.
But like Mark Streit, at least, like he was pretty good here for a while. Like there are guys that were good here for a while that you could throw on there. But Braden Coburn played a ton of games, and he was really good for this team.
It was never going to happen. But another guy I thought of was Ghost.
Ghost,
I think you could make a case for Ghost being on this team, because
you want to talk about being an iconic player for this franchise.
Yeah.
Okay. Shane Gostisbehere.
The coaches didn't, but the fans love Shane Gostisbehere. And I thought he was like, that rookie season he had. Oh my God. That rookie season he had, like, just crazy. It was so much fun to watch. Honestly, to this day, that's the most fun I've had watching the Flyers.
It was such a blast.
That was the most fun I've ever had watching this team.
I always think of like what our dear friend Craig Forsyth would always call the ghost shimmy, right? Oh, what he do back at the blue line?
I miss that shimmy.
And that slap shot, man. that's like one of the great slap shots in Flyers history. That ghost slap shot. Like that's a power play weapon. Like you think about we used to have a proper power play here. Okay. We had the ghost slap shot. We had whatever. I got thoughts on Braden Shen. Okay. I wasn't the biggest Braden Shen fan, but that power play hasn't been the same since Braden Shen left.
Yeah.
So
and it wasn't all just Braden Shen, but like,
but Braden Shen was a nice piece of it. You know, it all worked with Shen and Simmons and Ghost and like those guys in there. Like it made a difference. And like, you know, when you lose those guys, it was different. But like, dude, Ghost was something else.
Awesome.
Like Ghost affected this team and Ghost made this team fun in a way that nobody else really has. And like, if you want to take that perspective, right, like which they clearly didn't, like they just basically went off the fact that Provorov blocked 1 million shots and played a lot of minutes.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just, listen, and I understand that's like the Flyers brand of hockey or whatever, but like Ghost he was a show. Watching Ghost, and was he perfect? No, he was not. Like he was not that great defensively. There's no question about that. But he was fun. And when he was on, oh baby, was he on. And it was just watching him on the power play, watching him with the puck on his stick. He just had these moves and he was just able to get around guys and do that shot. Like you said, that fucking shot was just crazy. For a little guy too, just an awesome shot. And man, it's just, it drives me crazy how dirty the Flyers did him, or Chuck Fletcher did him. Just
one of the grossest moves,
paying for him to go away. Of all the players that in the last 10, somewhat 15 years that the Flyers should have paid to just leave and go away, Ghost should not have been the guy who they did that to.
Absolutely insane. It's just nuts to think about. 28 points this year, by the way, in 37 games played.
Pretty good.
Not too shabby for a defenseman.
Pretty good.
Oh, God. So, yeah, I did not agree at all with Provorov. I would have taken a lot of guys over him. Like, you could have put Dan McGillis in over, and I wouldn't have batted an eye over compared to Provorov. It just felt like, I don't know what they were thinking with a couple of these picks. My biggest grievance is the goaltending. I think no Steve Mason and no Wayne Simmons are my two. No Steve Mason, no Wayne Simmons, and the inclusion of Ivan Provorov are my three big grievances.
Me too. Absolutely.
Yeah. Most of this is good. I mean, it's a fun little exercise to honor, certain guys and everything. We didn't have to go. I would have preferred a Ryan Ellis in there.
Over a point per game player for the Flyers. I don't know why he's not on there.
Absolute legend.
I do love that he's still on the Flyers roster. If you go to the team page.
Oh yeah. He's going to be there forever.
He can't go away. He's on the team.
Honorable mention in all this, by the way, to Ilya Bryzgalov, because he might be the actual most iconic Flyers goaltender of the past 25 years.
For reasons that may not exactly be positive, but he's certainly iconic.
For being just like a whack job. I loved him. I loved his personality. I hated watching him in net. It's just an excruciating goaltender.
Very similar to Ivan Fedotov, too, in terms of love the guy. Seems like a nice guy.
Like a good dude, yeah.
Hate watching.
Tall. I hate watching
him a lot.
It's just like, what's he going to do at any given second? You don't know.
You know who would have been a fun inclusion on one of these teams, and it never would have happened because he was only a Flyer for 1 year. If they put Jágr on there,
it would have been a fun inclusion for sure.
Funny.
Yeah,
that would have been really funny.
Yeah, I would have loved that.
It was fun. That Jágr year was one of the more fun years in recent Flyers history. So
sure was. That's where all the Briz quotes came from.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just remember 24/7. It's like Briz, and they're like they all wake up in the hotel and they're having breakfast at the hotel, like cafeteria or whatever. And he goes and he sits down at the table next to Jágr. And Jágr just looks, sees it's Briz, grabs his shit, and just walks to a different table. Just funny. What a funny
part of that. I want no part of that.
Just what a fun team that was.
What a fun team. That was so good. I'll tell you what, we're going to get going. I had a whole bunch of Torts stuff I wanted to talk about too that we didn't even get to. But let's very briefly. I just love that Torts was complaining like an old man about the loud music at the Fard, going like, I don't even like to call timeouts because the music's so loud that nobody can hear me. And why is it so loud? Like
he really is an old man yelling at the cloud.
It's amazing. He is the old man yelling at a cloud, and I kind of love him. And like, I also love that you just never know what lane Torts is going to pick on an issue. You're like, after the Cutter game, you're like, oh, he's going to say that kid can go fuck himself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he comes out and he's just like, I don't want to talk about that kid. You guys have made the story up. You've made this all up.
Honestly,
like,
that didn't really surprise me too much. Like, that didn't surprise me a ton. But like,
he's full of shit, though.
He is. He would
manufactured the story as much as anybody in the media.
Yeah, but I just like, it doesn't surprise me that he's like, I'm not going to fucking talk about it. Like,
no, that part doesn't surprise me.
Like, that I get, but like, yeah,
it's just like, dude, it's wild. Like, and then like the Poehling hit, like when it first happened, he's just like losing his shit. But then at the end of the game, he's like, all right,
yeah. He has to have, his brain needs to be studied by science.
Yes, I'm in for that study. 100%.
Study John Tortorella's brain. I swear to God. I love him. I love Torts. Listen, like, is he a perfect coach? No, he's not. He sure is not. But like, God damn, do I love that fucking guy. He's fun. It's funny.
I was talking to somebody and I was talking about like, I might have been Bill Matz, but like, I was just saying, like, I'll say as far as entertainment goes, Torts has delivered in spades.
He's the best of the best in terms of entertaining as a head coach.
He has lived up to the promise that we hoped he would when he signed with the Flyers.
Oh yeah. And you know what? You know what's the best part? I don't even think we've seen the end of it, Steve.
No, I think we got a couple more years of this.
I just remember him being ejected from that game against Tampa, and he's just like, "Fuck you, I'm not leaving the bench." They're like, go to the locker room. He's like, "No, I'm not leaving." Like, he just would not. Like,
he Wolf of Wall Streeted that shit.
I'm not leaving.
Torts is going anywhere.
He's, my God, I just love him. I love him.
He's something else, man. He's something else. I got to see one playoff run with him as the head coach of the Flyers. Like, I'm hoping next year.
Yeah. I really, really, really need to see it.
Let's get some centers, and we don't need to be like on our big run next year, but like, let's make the playoffs. Let's get a Torts playoff run. I need to see him like lose his shit in the playoffs at least once.
Yeah. Let's go to the playoffs.
Let's have a lot of fun.
Losing 7 in the first round.
I'll go to a second round. Let's do it. Let's get to a second round. Let's do it.
Well, if they go to the second round, then they're going to keep Torts, and I feel like
they're going to keep Torts if they make the playoffs anyway.
This is his 3rd year. I feel like 4 years of Torts is just right. 5, I'm like, do we need that? I don't know.
You're just hiring coaches in presidential terms at this point.
Yeah. Honestly, you might as well, like, because it seems the turnover, it's basically a 4-year thing, if that. So
yeah, lame duck coach.
Right.
All right, folks. Well, we're going to head out of here and go enjoy our Friday nights, but thank you so much for listening or watching. We do appreciate and cherish every one of you. If you have any feedback for us, the best place is over on Blue Sky. You can find me at Flyperbole or at Esteban, but if for hockey purposes, make it Flyperbole. Quigs, where can people find you?
Wow. You can find me on Blue Sky at Ryan Quigs with a Z. Blue Sky or whatever comes after that.
Whatever it is, you know how to find
us. I'm hardly even paying attention to Twitter anymore.
I'm done with Twitter.
Twitter is real bad.
I mainly just keep the account so that like nobody else takes the account.
I only use it. I only like log in to see if there's like tweets by like big reporters that just aren't on Blue Sky yet.
Right. And occasionally I have to do that, which is unfortunately a lot of them. Somebody get Elliot Friedman on Blue Sky. Let's do it.
Once Friedman's on, we're good.
We're good. Yeah. We just need the Friedman over there. And maybe Uncle Bob can come out of retirement and come over.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Oh, we miss Uncle Bob, one of the only big guys to ever say Flyperbole on his show. There we go.
Can't believe
All right. What a moment that was.
Yeah.
All right. So follow Ryan Quigs with a Z. You can follow Flyperbole. Follow Flyperbole over on Instagram. TikTok, while it's around, who knows what's going to happen there, but it's not looking good right now. But we're on there for now. And then, follow Broad Street Hockey and all that good stuff. And be sure to listen to all those great podcasts. So, folks, thanks so much for listening. And until next time, in the words of the great Gene Hart, good night and good hockey.
Go Birds. Fuck you.
Go Birds. Wow, 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 wow. Wow, 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 wow.